What do you do when you have a unique stone like this one? Well, you make it into handles for a knife like this. We're going to put this stone and knife together and see how it turns out. Stick around. Alright, so before we get started with everything, I want y'all to get a good look at this stone when it's wet. That way we can see exactly what we're going to use out of this stone. Now, when it's finished, don't let anybody show you it's wet whenever it's finished. All cabochoned up, it just makes it look better than what it really is. You want to look at it whenever it's wet in this kind of slab or rough form to kind of get an idea of where you're wanting your knife handles to come out of on the stone. So we're kind of looking at this, and I see some spots I want to do, but my wife also wants a piece of this. So it's going to make it a little more difficult. So we're going to have to be really careful about how we do this, how we go about this. I mean, and hopefully it won't break apart on the slab saw. That's the thing I'm worried about the most. So we've had some people suggest that we do an amethyst blade or an amethyst handle. We're going to do an amethyst knife in the future, as well as this right here. This is called ruby and fuchsite, a really cool stone, and we're going to make it into a knife handle. So you definitely want to like and subscribe. Stick around. We got some cool stuff coming for you, not just knives, cabochons, and one day when my wife feels like it, she will do her jewelry wrapping. She's smiling behind the camera right. So now what we're going to do, since we got the areas on the stone that we want to get our knife handles out of, we're going to go ahead and transfer this to the liners, okay? And what you do is you just line it up. So what we want to do is we're going to get it nice and lined up here. We got it lined up, and we're just going to trace it on there. There we go. And then we will flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. Alright, so now that we got that, we're going to cut these out. But I'm also wanting to get it traced onto the stone itself with the knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact process, but on the stone. So you want to make sure that your stone is dry so it will hold that ink relatively well. We're going to put our knife on there, and we're just going to trace it out on here. We're going to try to keep as much stone as possible because, like I said, my wife would like a piece of this. So, and we'll do our best to do that, and if not, then, you know, I owe her some Kaleidoscope stone. So we want to look at that right there, right? We're just going to run that along. Let's see. We got one match here. And then we got one match here. So everything should be good. Like they usually get them on both the same side, but sometimes you can't. But I think I did manage to save enough for Laura's piece as well. So let's go ahead, get out there. I just marked myself. Let's go ahead, get out there and get things cut out. How about that? All right, so what we got here is we got it all ready to be carved up. Cross your fingers. Let's hope this goes well. We're going to go ahead and start cutting. Can we salvage it? All right, so we got to go back in and reevaluate the stone right now. All right, so we do have somewhat of a problem. You can see where the outline is here in the middle of the saw process. Just like I said, we hope it does not happen. It did break off. Now, I could probably take a piece and glue it back in there, right? Or I can try to fix this without having to do that. That's what I'm going to try first. If I find no way to fix that, then we'll probably glue that one piece back on there. All right, so I'll be right back as soon as I figure out what I'm going to do, and then we'll see if it works. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to do this without gluing any piece back on there. All right, so we do have this side. This side is pretty much good. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty good. So we do have this side pretty good. So what we need to do is we need to adjust for this side, right? So we want to go opposite of what we already have. That's good, right? We want to go opposite of that. So what we need to do is, instead of having it like this, we're going to flip it over like this. And let's see if we can't get it go the other way. And while that will work and I do like that, we probably need to check out the other side now, because the reason I had this is because it did have a little bit of green right in there. So I think we're going to go with this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and retrace everything out up to this point here. I got my two little marks, right? What I'm also going to do, since I'm right in the middle of it, I'm going to take this, assuming I cut it straight, and I'm going to have that. Nope, I'm going to have that. That's my line. There we go. Just to make sure, I'm going to put it back to where it was. And yes, it does come straight across. So that's how we're going to work with this and get this done. The other side's still good. We're going to match these two sides up. They turn to different ways. They're good. So let us go out there and get these stones flat. Then we get them glued on to the liners. Then we get the liners glued onto the knife with the stones on it. And then we can start cutting and polishing these things. All right, so now that we're out here, we're gonna flatten these out so they'll sit nice and even with the knife. And then we're gonna flatten the back ends out so they sit nice and flush on the knife. Okay, so let's get into this. Also, while I got you, I want to remind y'all to like, subscribe, and share. All right, everybody, so we're back in the house. I had to flatten the handle down some on that flat lap, so the stone and the liner will sit flat on the knife. We're gonna try to get absolutely no gaps in it, so that's our goal. But yeah, this thing's ready to go ahead and get the liners and the stones on there. So let's go ahead and start that now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the liners on the knife. So I need to polish this front end because I will not be able to polish it once we get it onto the knife. So these are gonna go on tomorrow and this is going on tonight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix just a little bit of epoxy 330 together. Don't need a ton, just a little bit of happy little bonding agent. I'm sure my wife will probably want to make merch of that. Two little bonding agents holding on to each other, hugging for dear life. I'm just going to smear some of that on there. We want to get it on there as close as we can to perfect. Now, I know it looks unsightly right now, but it will not stay like that. That's what's important. And then we're just going to let that sit and let that dry. And then tomorrow, after I polish the fronts, I'll probably do that first thing in the morning. Polish the fronts. That way we can get these on there and dry, and hopefully by afternoon time I can get these out here and start cutting them on the knife. So we will see you tomorrow. I've got these fronts cleaned up here. Now we can put these on there. We got to make sure that number one, it's going to cover everything, and it should. We want to line this up again, make sure we're covering everything. Everything's good. So I'm going to do, take this, just run it all over here. Make sure it gets everything nice, smothered and covered. See, that's the problem with epoxy 330. It's also good, but there's a problem with it, and that it wants to move a lot. We're going to set these up, let these sit, dry. Once they dry, we're going to take them out there and start cutting. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how it looks. So even though we did have that break early on, the knife's turning out to be really cool, really well. We do have to do some more sanding on the metal itself, but I think the Kaleidoscope stone is really popping out, really looking good, especially with that Damascus. So if you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, leave in the comments below what you think about it and what you'd like to see in the future. It really helps us out, and we'll see you next time.